Hello and welcome. It is Thursday, June 23rd at 6:35 p.m. and I am calling to order the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees special meeting. We have, and today is Thursday, June 23rd, again, 6:35. We have a closed session first this evening with one item on our closed session, which is conference with legal counsel of anticipated litigation, government code, section 54956.9E1, one case. All right, welcome everybody. We are reconvening in open session. It is Thursday, June 23rd. This is the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees special meeting, and it is 7:06 p.m. We are gathered here. At the Wade Thomas campus in the multi-purpose room. And so we're going to go ahead and open our meeting. As we started last time, we have a couple of procedural items. And first, we're going to start by welcoming everybody. And I'd like to acknowledge that in this place, we are located on the unceded ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok people of present-day Marin and southern Sonoma counties, and that we honor with gratitude the land itself and all of its ancestors, past, present, and emerging. Tonight, I'd like to use just a minute with our democracy moment to also acknowledge a few things about our public process. First, I want to recognize that I, as a board chair sitting up here, I have white privilege, and that I sit in a place of positional power because I have the opportunity to hold public office. And in this role that I'm aware of, in terms of who I am and my ethnicity, skin color, race, socioeconomic position, but I hold responsibility, as do we all, to serve the district and its children and families. I also acknowledge that our public institutions, like our school boards, were not built with equity in mind. And I know that this district is not unique, but we are actively working on a continuous improvement basis to make shifts as we can. We struggle with different trade-offs. We know that physical safety, emotional and mental safety, and the financial resources that are needed to support both of these, as well as to continue to serve new generations of students and families to come, involve making tough decisions. Managing a public process like this one within the constraints of the Brown Act, which is also commonly referred to as the California Open Meeting Laws, which were designed to ensure open government and fairness, also involves difficult trade-offs for us and for you. The reason our meetings might seem formal and rigid is to ensure that I, as the board president, with the bias and the perspective that I come from, can't act in an arbitrary or capricious manner based on my personal bias, but based on the way that we're supposed to run public meetings in the public. So things like, for example, choosing time allocations for public comment. It's not arbitrary. It's based on giving the number of people who want to speak an equal opportunity to do so. Perhaps we could, as other boards have, set a time limit. There's trade-offs. We could, as other boards do, set a time limit and end when that time limit expires, even if there's more people who want to speak but can't. Or we could expand the time for each individual public comment, knowing that some people, especially those of you with children, can't sit here for hours and hours and hours. And you might need to leave without ever getting a chance to be heard, or do hear everyone for a shorter period of time. These are the kinds of trade-offs in public process. There's no right answer. And I know that equal time is not the same as equitable, but I believe it's better than arbitrary and subjective, and I don't believe that I should be subjective. We do our best. So we up here have chosen to sit in these seats to help make decisions with thoughtful consideration and big hearts. We do our best to listen with compassion to each and every one of you, and to keep an open mind to hear people with life experiences that are different from our own. We're not going to be perfect, and we ask for your grace in our search for finding unity among our diversity toward building a more perfect union among us all. And with that, I would like to invite you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we get into the meeting, the next protocol is approval of the agenda and the time allocations. I know we only have one thing on our meeting tonight, but we still have to go through this process. So does anybody have any questions? All right. Motion to approve.
I second.
Motion and a second. All right. Ryan?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye. Rachel?
Aye.
Wesley?
Aye.
All right. We have an agenda. The next item is on communications. So report out from closed session. It was a very short closed session, and there isn't anything no decisions were made, nothing to report out on closed session. We do have communications and correspondence, and make sure everybody saw those. Those are posted on our board docs. So they are open, all the communications that we receive are open for everybody to read on our board documents. And now we can move on to the topic for this evening. Sorry, I have to put my glasses back on. I want to remind everybody, we're going to move on to that, but before we get into this, we do have comment cards in the back, so if people need to grab those and fill those out, because we are going to use them tonight. Hand them over here to Chris, and he'll bring them up. Thank you for asking that. Okay, so the presentation and the discussion tonight, which again is discussion only, no action is going to be taken tonight, is consideration of sale options to preserve Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center's occupancy at Deer Park and other options. Marcy, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about framing our discussion tonight?
Absolutely. So while RVSD...
sorry to interrupt, but I think it's Wesley over here.
Oh.
I think you might have skipped over communications correspondence to the board.
She did cover.
No, that we have correspondence to the board, and it's all in our board documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And just and this is a time usually just to make sure that all of the board has seen all of those correspondence.
Okay, thank you.
We did have one correspondence that everybody should have up on their table that came in by mail. So that was just posted today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, so while RVSD staff has not yet finished collecting information from Fire Chief Jason Weber, MMWD, and other experts, we decided, given the current heightened public attention and confusion surrounding the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center lease and occupancy at Deer Park, that it would be in everyone's best interest to call a special meeting in order to start moving forward with solutions, which may include, and this is in the background information from tonight's agenda item, the sale of Deer Park to an outside agency or party who will continue to maintain the occupancy of the Children's Center. There are a number of restrictions on the sale or disposal of property under Surplus Lands Act and how the Surplus Lands Act applies to sales, dedications, or other forms of property disposition. As Shelley noted, the board will not be taking any action this evening. Per the information presented in our past meetings, we've had 3 so far on this topic, we do know the status quo is not viable. Tonight's meeting is just about getting direction from the board to open the door to conversations about solutions so that we can move forward on that while continuing our process to finalize and gather and do our due diligence with all of the items that have been brought forward in our past 3 meetings. As was mentioned at last Tuesday's board meeting, we were actually not able to meet with the Fairfax and Anselmo Children's Center this week. We actually reached out and they're able to meet the week of July 4th, so we're meeting on July 6th on that date. And that's as soon as they were able to meet. And so we have Terry Tao, our legal counsel, with us this evening to hear the discussion and to ensure that we are clear as staff on the scope and latitude in order to set the agenda for that meeting. And then so we are able to come back to our next regularly scheduled board meeting, which is July 19th, with everything the board needs to make a decision on a reasonable time frame, key milestones within that time frame, and a next steps plan. What we heard in our last 3 meetings, so this is just to kind of summarize and bring us where we are, is that what needs to happen within a reasonable time frame includes, and these are not in any particular order, just to recapture them and just kind of set the stage, is that the Fairfax and Anselmo Children's Center obtains design approval and secures funding necessary to bring the facility up to current Field Act safety standards, or there's a sale transfer agreement in place with an entity, it might be the Children's Center or another agency, that will continue Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center occupancy and undertake the needed improvements with the center, or that possibly the center may need to move to another location, either permanently or temporarily, while progress is made on the other 2 pathways. Mentioned the 2 previous ones I just talked about. And within these pathways, we know there are going to be many solutions, many details to explore. Tonight's agenda isn't designed to get into all of those details or whether one specific solution is more viable than another. We are just gathering options. We're not betting them. And that being said, I'm confident that we will be able to find a pathway forward to find a viable solution with the Children's Center. We did work on an FAQ to hopefully help respond to and clarify some of our past discussions. We won't be going into a review tonight of those. The FAQs, we have uploaded those to board docs, and there are some copies in the back tonight or for anybody in attendance. And we'll also post it to our district website tomorrow. Tonight's meeting is not intended to address any of the fire safety code compliance issues, rehash any past lease negotiations or actions, or be an exhaustive, detailed brainstorming session on all possible specific solutions and or a pro or con vetting conversation about those solutions. As an outcome of tonight, as I mentioned, staff is simply looking for direction regarding the options to explore with the Children's Center. And as I mentioned, we have that meeting on July 6th. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Shelley to talk about the next part.
So again, just to reiterate, we're going to give staff directions. We're opening a new door. We haven't finished all of our due diligence. Usually you like to finish that first, but we are going to just open the door to direct staff around the scope of options that they can start talking about with the Children's Center, with other municipal agencies, with other groups and organizations that can be of help. We have not given them any direction in the past on this. The past direction that we have given in past meetings has been about timeframes and has been about finding information to do due diligence. So we just wanted to make sure that you have what you need and you're clear from us, and if you have any questions from us, to be able to have those meetings going forward so that by July 19th when we come back, we can continue to move forward. I also want to say that we know that this is really a community responsibility. It's not just going to be up to the district or to the Children's Center to make this happen. It's going to take all of us, and it's going to take the involvement of other institutions, not just to come up with ideas, but also to step in with resources and assistance to make this happen. We all know that this county doesn't have enough childcare for the people who really need it. We hope that we can be part of even a larger solution because there needs to be more childcare in this entire county for all the families who need it. This shouldn't be a crisis. Our system needs resiliency, And so we hope that this can also be part of a greater solution for the entire county's infrastructure for our youngest people and the kids and the young people in our community. So, so I want to check in with other board members about this direction. That's why we're here, is to make sure that, you know, if anybody has any questions or they want to just say something about this direction and about our ability to direct staff and to give them the leeway that they need to have these conversations with other community members. What we are going to do is I'm going to see if our other board members have anything they want to say about that. Then we will go out to public comment. So we are going to use these cards tonight. So we do need everybody who wants to make a statement to fill out one of these cards tonight so that we can see how many statements that we have. And then we'll bring it back to the board. So is there, Marie?
Yeah, the question I have for all of us to make sure I understand the time frame, between now and the 6th of July or even the 19th of July, there is no way either the staff here, or hopefully it's going to take some days off at some point, or the Children's Center will be completely fleshed out all those solutions, right? What needs to happen between now and then is putting a plan in place to address those questions, but not having all the answers between now and the 6th of July, correct?
We don't think we'll have all the answers
yes.
by then.
Yeah.
And so as an example, we are going to be doing another flow and pressure test next week at the Children's Center. And so we're still gathering, as I said, and make sure we have all the information. So another test will be done next week, measure a little bit something different. So some of the things, of course, we're going to continue to move on with, but wanting to be sure that as we go into the meeting with them on the 6th, that staff is aware, so we can build the agenda tonight, basically, is what we need to do. And they have asked for an agenda, and that makes perfect sense. Of course, people want to know going into a meeting what we'll be doing there. And so that will be helpful, is to be able to know from tonight as to where we're going to go. It'll also be helpful for Chris and me as we're getting back and digging in based on whatever questions you all have tonight. The direction is to make sure that we're looking into and getting the information so that we know how we can move forward and what are those legal parameters around sale. We need to start digging in and learning
I'm thinking that must be complex. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it entails, but okay.
Yeah.
So we won't have answers when we come back, but we will be able to have, like I mentioned, a time frame with some milestones and then next steps, so that we are confident that we can, by an end of a reasonable time frame, have one of these three in place.
Got it. Thank you.
Leslie, Ryan, are you good with the staff being able to have conversations with public entities? Any other thoughts on?
No, I think that's absolutely when it's to take place.
Okay.
I concur.
Yeah, I'm fine with them trying to find solutions with any entities that might be able to help assist us with this issue. I mean, whether it's a government agency or a nonprofit or some other entity that might be able to help us. We don't have to narrow the scope, correct? I mean, they can go and look for options that are viable, right? Yes, as long as that's what we're heading towards, then yes.
Yeah, I'm also thinking that even if you want to contact a lot of people, there is also, we're in the summer, so you might not be able to reach everybody. So as long as you are working toward that and you are investigating everything that you need to investigate and make some progress, I'm all for that. Green light.
Marcy, do you have any other questions? And we'll go out to public comment, and then we can bring it back if there's anything that we need to address afterwards. Should we go ahead?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take a couple of minutes just to give you all, if anybody hasn't had a chance to fill out one of these cards, we didn't use it last time, but we are going to use it this time. So that I know for sure how many comments there's going to be. And so I'm not seeing a mad rush to the door. I know I've got one more here. All right, so just give me a second here. I'm just gonna look at how many we have and then figure out how to do it this time. Okay. So we can go ahead with the 3 minutes. We'll go ahead with the 3 minutes. We have a handful of them. So we can go ahead with 3 minutes. And I'm just going to mix these up and call on people. I'm going to call in batches so that you all can sit there. You don't have to stand in a big long line for everybody who's going to be talking. So I'm just going to mix these up and I'm going to call 5 people at a time. And then the 5 of you can line up at the microphone. And then when we get down to those 5, I'll call another 5 and those 5 can line up. That way people can sit down. So let's go ahead with Anya. Please excuse me. I will do my best with writing and with names. I'm Anya Chandler and Brian and Sharon Sagar. Me, Maria. Alice, Maria Alice, Tori Chappelle, and Alexis Robinson will be the first 5. So if you guys want to go line up over here. And then show it. Oh, our microphone's right over here. Right there. So we have Anya, Brian and Sharon, one of you, Maria, Tori, and Alexis. Okay. Oh, and we need a timekeeper. Do you want to do that again for us? That would be great. So we'll have a timekeeper. You're going to hear that ring when you have 30 seconds left.
What ring?
It's a timer on a phone.
Oh, okay.
It's a timer on a phone, so that'll go 30 seconds left, and then I'll let you know that the time is up. You don't have to take 3 minutes if you don't want, but you have your full 3 minutes if you want it.
Okay, got it. And there's a change in the order. So I am Alexis Robinson.
Okay.
And I am the director, and I represent the board of directors from the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center. So we want to thank you for calling this special meeting after the outpouring of support from our organization. From our organization with the threat of displacing our agency. As you can see, the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center is a pillar for the community and has impacted countless families. I know that you will not be making a decision at this meeting, and I implore you to consider all of the options that would allow the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center to remain at its current site so we can continue to serve the underserved and make a key impact in an integral part of our community. I am here to say to you all that the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center is ready, willing to partner and work with your representatives, the fire chief, the water district, the town of Fairfax, and other key individuals that are in this room and that was present last week to resolve any real issues we face at our site. And based on your FAQ statement tonight, the A5 statement would not be the viable option for our agency.
Thank you.
My name is Anya Chandler. I have been a resident of Deer Park for 51 years. I know it's hard to believe, but, I heard you say, sale to someone else. Do you have anybody in mind? How do you see the center being used aside from being a children's center? And you talk about the center bringing it up to standards. Did it meet the standards when the center first began? Can you answer those questions?
We actually, in public comment period, it's
Do not. You
it's
just
not a
hear.
dialogue back and forth.
Is there
but we're writing
anything that
them all
I was
down.
not clear about? I had 3
You have 3
questions.
minutes.
Yeah, and you got it. Okay. Thank you.
I'm reclaiming my minute from last week. My name is Maria Alice. I'm a Fairfax resident. I'm a Ross Valley School District and Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center alum parent. In the early 90s, I was a preschool teacher at Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center only because of the support I received from the late Ethel Seidemann, co-founder and then executive director of Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center. I was able to then pursue my career in early childhood education. I was able to successfully complete 54 units in child development and graduated with a master's degree from Sonoma State University. Fast forward to now, I have a successful career in the field of early childhood education. I'm adjunct faculty at many colleges and universities, to name a few: San Francisco State University, Santa Rosa Junior College, Chabot College, Pacific Oaks College in San Jose, and Mountain Tamalpais College, formerly known as Prison University Project at San Quentin. When I returned to Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center as the pedagogical coordinator, I collected evidence of high-quality academic achievement and engagement of their children in all areas of curriculum in literacy, math, science, physical, social, emotional development, and anti-bias practices. These exemplary vignettes are featured in an entire chapter of the 2022 book, Principals as Early Learning Leaders, Effective Supporting Our Youngest Learners, written by Dr. Julie Nicholson, Professor of Practice of the School of Education at Mills College and co-director of the Center for Equity in Early Childhood Education. These outstanding examples featured in this book from the students at the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center will be inspiring best practices for educators nationally and internationally. Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center must continue in their site at the Deer Park, a site that inspires young children to be successful in their early and elementary school years and beyond. And I also have to share that the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center staff, Mariana Gaidano, one example of lead teacher in the infant classroom, they've been featured in 6 videos of the Program for Infant Toddler Care, known as PITC through WestEd, which is a national organization that, they do trainings all over, and exemplary examples of children's interactions with their primary caregivers in the infant toddler center are featured in these videos, and they are available online on their website, WestEd website. So I encourage you to see those videos.
Thank you. We're gonna go forward, and we appreciate, and everyone appreciates what people are saying, but I am gonna ask if we could hold the applause, just because we appreciate everybody who speaks, and it's just part of public speaking is to let everybody speak without applause and reaction. So I'm just gonna ask if everybody could hold their applause, and we can do one at the end for everybody. Thank you.
Brian and Sharon Sager would like a total of 3 minutes for each one of us. I have made it very clear that I feel very strongly that the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center should remain on site, that's the best use for our community for many years to come. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that this evening. I absolutely advocate to find a way for them to stay there. But I also want to talk about a couple of other things and procedural things that I think it's really important for our community to think about. Because Ed Code allows for what's called the 7-Eleven committee, which is an opportunity when a school district decides to do something different with one of their properties to involve the community in conversations about what to do with that property. And I think that the school board should have organized a committee like that once they started thinking about doing anything different with that site, to allow the community to participate actively in conversation, because this property does belong to the community. It doesn't belong to a 5-member board. It doesn't even belong to the next board. You sit there as trustees of this land for our community and for our future children. And I think we need to be thinking that way as a community. How can we best use this property to serve our children, whether they are school-age children or preschool children? How can we make sure that we preserve this property for future generations? because we don't know 50 years from now what our needs will be as a community for educating children in our community. And we shouldn't be so quick and unthoughtful as to not think what long-term consequences we have as a community for properties too, because there aren't going to be lands to buy in the future for our community. So I really want people to think beyond the obvious today, which is that this program should stay on that site. And I'm not convinced that the safety issues are there that this board is jumping to the conclusion about. Yes, we can improve the property. Yes, we can make it safer for children. But when people think about properties today, they're really thinking about how do we make sure people get out safely, not that we can prevent the building from burning down. There are things that you can do to make sure that people evacuate a site safely. And that's what the program was trying to do. They were trying to put in a fire life and safety system to help make sure that kids could evacuate the site. It might not prevent the buildings from burning down, but that's what schools do all the time. And these buildings were meant to stand for a long time by repairing them. Is that 6 minutes or 3?
Each person gets
2.5, so you have 30 seconds.
You get 30 seconds more, and then if you'd like to speak, you.
So
It's every person gets 3 minutes. So go ahead, keep going.
okay.
Okay.
Anyway, the reality is that I don't really believe that it's an imminent safety issue. There are things that you can do to improve a building to make it safer. There are things that you can do, re-roof, put in new electrical and power to make the buildings last longer. But these buildings are no more likely to fall down around students than any other building that was built in this district more than 20 years ago. And I think we just really need to stop and not say it's such an urgent issue. Let's take the time to get the information to make sure that these buildings are safe for kids, but let's keep the program there. And if for some reason you don't find a way for this program to stay there, then I think you should offer them Red Health release, because you have 15 or 20 people sitting in a perfectly good school site. If you can't find a way for them to stay there, I think you need to turn around and really look at yourselves and think, do we need to have 15 or 20 adults in a building that should be used for children?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tori Chappelle, and I've been a resident in San Anselmo for 34 years. My children went to school here, and I've also been an educator in the Ross Valley School District for that same amount of time, and taught kids in all of the schools here. And I was struck when we all stood up for the pledge, which in recent years has been harder for me. And the phrase "with liberty and justice for all" stuck with me, especially in this situation. Because that, to me, is what we all need to be thinking about. And the other question that came to me is, considering that a majority of the population that's being impacted by this crisis is Latinx, why, I appreciate you holding this, but why there wasn't a translator included. That in and of itself would have demonstrated a tremendous amount of respect for the people who are being impacted by the crisis that we're facing as a community. And I really, truly want to believe your words and your commitment to equity and justice, whether it's on your website or, as you say, the Pledge of Allegiance. But that is a key piece in this white community. This is the only place where people of color and people of low income are getting support. And to consider the possibility of shutting that down without any broader communication with the community, allowing a local paper to write an article, an inflammatory article saying there was a 30 to 60 day, and in your notes here you say that's not the case. I'm trusting that you have communicated with the Marin IJ that kind of, I don't really want to feel comfortable calling it responsible journalism, but that cannot happen for us to be able to have an ethical, respectful conversation here. And the fact that the field was sold for $1 to a primarily white high school without a tremendous amount of community discussion, I'm wondering why that same decision can't be made or considered for the Children's Center. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We are now gonna have Jennifer Frishen, Isaac Kipton, Madonna Abarca, Hortensia Castaneda, and Lisa Kanan. And then Peggy Dodge. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead. Thank you. And go ahead.
My name is Jennifer Frisch. I'm a member of this community. I live in Fairfax. My son attended the Children's Center, and my elder son didn't attend the Children's Center because we moved here when he was older, but he did an Eagle Scout project there, as did multiple of his other fellow scouts because they felt like the program was important. This is the only program that provides affordable health care in the Ross Valley. It's literally the only program. There's a couple of sites that have a couple of spaces available, but there's nothing that provides care for the age range between infants and school age that's available at the Children's Center. I also have questions. As I understand it, the lease was initially denied a couple of years ago. So my question is, I hear you guys talk about the childcare crisis in this area. Why didn't a discussion start happening a couple of years ago when the lease was initially denied to find a new location for it? If you guys were so concerned about the families and children at the Children's Center, why were we not looking for an alternative location at that time? Why do we have to wait until now when you've hired a very, I assume, expensive lawyer to come in and give the community 30 to 60 days to vacate the facility? And then you say, well, he didn't really say that, but he did say that. It's actually not a misrepresentation by the IJ. He actually said that, and they reported the factual things that he said. And now we're being told that, well, that's not happening. But he said it. And you guys paid him to say that. You didn't go back and look for other solutions. So that's what my questions are, is if we value this community, if we want this community here, if we respect this community, if we know that this is the only affordable childcare program in the community, why didn't this discussion start happening a very, very, very long time ago? So that's my first question. So the other thing I want to say is, and these are kind of harsh words, but I'm going to call it like it is. What we are seeing here is the literal definition of systemic injustice. This is literally what it looks like. And each and every person here who has played a role in this has played a role in systemic injustice in this community. The fact that these families have to come here tonight when they could be at home having dinner with their children, and instead they have to come up here and fight for the resource that they have that makes it possible for them to go to work every day, because 100% of these families are working families, is not right. And so that's what I want to say. When you go home, you think about that. This is what systemic injustice looks like.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isaac Kipton, and I'm a student of the Ross Valley School District. The Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center is very important to the community here. It serves families who might not be able to get child care elsewhere, keeping children from having to stay home alone, bored. The Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center helps the kids stay safe, entertained, and nutritionally fed. I see these as good reasons for the Children's Center to stay open.
Thank you.
My name is Malena Barca.
I'm speaking Spanish. I want to try my English. It's not very well. I tried to go to college when I was single mom and I was having kids. Heidi, she was helping me with my little one to open the doors with the daycare. I babysitted. I charged for babysitting, but I didn't make enough money to pay my rent and pay childcare. I am for the other ones because I know that a lot of families, they make money, they work really hard all day for pay childcare, and that's the only place. And it's not only the childcare, it's like family. When you have some problem, we can go with Heidi, with Eric, with the teachers, and they love the kids. The kids, they love the teachers. If you see the picture, the books about the kids for all the years, I have a 20-year-old boy. He loved the center. They still talk to them. He's in college. I have a good boys, 3 boys, but it's really hard to find a place to go. And that place is really beautiful because they have a plants outside. They have a garden. In December, they play with water. They have a field trips. And we don't have to spend more money in the pockets for that. They have a lunch there. They cook really good meals for the kids. And they are a family. We are a clean up sometimes in the school. I don't think it's a good reason to close for the safe. It's been for many years and no accident they've been having over there. And I think you need, if you are a mom over there, you need to think. Or you can put it in our shoes to pay the money. We need to straight the accounts to pay child care. Is a lot of help with that center. I love the center, and my kids, they love too. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lisa Kanan. Just in response, Shelley, to the layout for the process from here on out, there's been a really inordinate focus on the status quo and on the Field Act and on the possibility of eviction. And I would hope that going forward in this next process, we have as much focus on really creative approaches to the surplus land thing. And if you need to find a consultant, you find a consultant who pushes the far edge of the envelope on surplus land as much as Terry Tao has pushed the envelope of the Field Act. We have a choice before us. We can lockstep follow the advice of the outside consultant you hired who is overwhelmingly focused on reducing your hypothetical liability to 0. A consultant who you have designated as your negotiator spokesman, who has made clear that he believes the center represents an untenable liability and needs to be cleared out as soon as is reasonably possible. Or we can commit to a community-wide collaboration with critical local partners to reduce the actual liability to the center and to the visitors and neighbors at Deer Park and help demonstrate the real mission of an educational institution and our responsibilities to the greater community and to the future. We did a land acknowledgement here, and I think the comments of one of the speakers before me about understanding this land is not ours, this land is not yours, and I think we need to go into this with that ethic. Codifying overcautiousness and basing decision with a worst case analysis methodology adds enormous cost and frankly liability of its own. Too much prudence and fealty to hypothetical risk can blind you to other real and substantive harm that you will do to countless families by failing to work collaboratively, openly, and creatively to preserve this asset inside our community and honor the center as the educational equity partner that it is. Ross Valley Fire has reassured the community that they can help mitigate the risk to the children and the staff, keeping them safe from firestorm risk, and work with them to mitigate the fire risks we all face here. They need to be at the table as an active participant in these discussions, and at a minimum, to reassure you that you can sleep at night while we are carefully working through this. Apart from the intrinsic value of the center, Deer Park neighbors should envision how their safety will be impacted by whatever you do next, either allowing for a transfer so that the buildings can be stabilized, improvements made, or evicting the center, letting the buildings further degrade, leaving them unattended for however long litigation ties up this property. And how will an abandoned property impact community safety, much less educational equity? No improvements, no fire reduction, no possible upgrades to water pressure and safety. Your moment is now, not in any grand statements about equity or collaboration. Show us by your actions and decisions that we together can make this thing right. Thank you.
We got two more Peggy Dodge and Sarah Christkindle. Thank you.
So are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Peggy Dodge. I'm the mother of two children who actually went through Wade Thomas and Whitehill. They also went through Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center for much of their life. I taught there at Fairfax San Anselmo for 13 years. I moved on from there and was at San Francisco Unified School District for a while, so I've seen a lot of school district stuff. And then for the last 19 and a half years, almost 20, I've been at College of Marin. I coordinate the early childhood education program, and I train the teachers in this community to work with children from 0 to 8, technically. So one confusion thing is, we keep saying that this is not an action, that this is just a discussion, but your agenda says it's an action item. Now, I know it says presentation/action, but in all of the places that I've had to do Brown Act meetings, you say presentation because someone's going to talk, but then action's going to be taken on that. So it's actually agendized as an action item. So that was really hard to hear at the very beginning of this meeting. Oh, it's not what it says. We can't have more of this "it's not what it says" stuff going on. I think you need to take a careful look at your FAQs, and I would yank them off your website before you do. Until you do. You have made a statement in here in answer to the question, is the building safe? First, the response is no. This is a licensed childcare facility that is subject to inspections, fire inspections, the Department of Health and Human Services licensing inspections. They are also a highly rated, in our county, there's something called Marin Quality Counts that rates the quality of childcare programs. This is a really highly rated one. You don't want to say this. You don't want right out of the gate, no, the facility is not safe. It's not the current codes, but it's the codes that have been acceptable. And as somebody who's taught there in the early 80s, I have to tell you that I'm hearkening to what Lisa said. If Fairfax San Anselmo had not gotten grants and done fundraising to do the things they've done to that facility, it would be just a pile of termite-ridden dirt. So I think we need to give them credit, and that you need to really work on making sure that everything is clear. And I second the proposal that you get someone who is as biased in the side of creative solutions as the attorney is biased in the side of eviction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Christkindle. I have a grandchild that's been at the Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center since she was about 4, and she's 9.5 out there. And a very, very happy, well-adjusted, biracial child who was impacted by really affected by Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center. And we got some extra help for her by the diagnosis that they made. And she's a little powerhouse, and it's something that could be she can be a star in the future for the whole county if we let her grow. So I say Fairfax San Anselmo Children's Center has contributed to the development and mental health of my grandchild. She has a lot of time on screens outside of her childcare times at the FSACC. The quality of play is high at FSACC, which is the basis of impassioned, creative, hopeful adults. That's what I truly believe. I had a very playful childhood, and I wound up being impassioned. I think play is very basic for our human development. Play is essential to happy lives for everyone, not just the children, but everyone around them. Be careful with what you do, be honest. The devastation possible is great. Life starts on an invisible level. Happiness is invisible, and play is important. So that's a place that really, really fosters play. And they get to play in a way that I remember playing as a child. It's special that way. It's unusual. So I would hate to see some decision that's not really fully honest, and the possibility of just completely losing anything, whatever happens. I don't even know what could happen. Yeah. So, thank you.
Right. I am going to then close the public comment period and bring it back up here to the board, wanting to make sure staff has the direction that they need and to check in with the board if there are anything else. I, for one, in something that I heard that I do want to add into is to add into the FAQ and the information that we provide to the public about some additional historical context. So there was a couple of questions about what happened in the past. Haven't you had these conversations, you know, why now, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna ask if staff could pull some historical context information together for us in that respect. And just a quick procedural thing, and we can even look at, as I said, we are always trying to improve. And having been in a lot of these meetings, understanding how to read an agenda, this is a fairly formal kind of thing. And I can understand the confusion when the title says presentation action item. The way that the items are determined, whether they're discussion, information, or action, is after each item, there are letters D and I and A. So I will definitely look at making it as easy to read as possible. But just for you all, when you're trying to track this going forward, if you look at each item in the parentheses after the items, if it says D and I, that means discussion and information only. If an action is going to be taken, there'll be an A there. The title of the section is presentation and action items.
It's a category.
It's a category. There are some of them that are going to have action, and some of them are just going to be discussion. So,
and when you open the item itself, it'll say under type, discussion information.
Okay.
So this
if you're
one is,
online. Yeah. So those were two kind of additional steps or the main direction was just to add the historical context. And I do think that we can actually learn something in our investigation from the prior conversations and things like that. So is there anything else in terms of, do you have any other questions for direction? Okay. And I'm not seeing anything else from the board in terms of directions. So we will go ahead and move forward. Staff is going to move forward, having conversations, have meetings with the Child Care Center, have meetings with other community organizations that can be helpful in this process. And we will be back here July 19th at our next regular board meeting. So we don't have that on our discussion. It's an information piece. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next piece of our board business, which is approval of the meeting minutes. So we appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to ask if you have like logistical questions, if you could just write them down on a piece of paper and we'll get in touch with you to answer any kind of logistical questions going forward. So
direct the staff to provide translators.
we will do, please, if you have any logistical questions, just write them down and let us know. So we're going to go ahead and move on because we've had our board conversation and public comment on that. So we're going to go ahead on to, we've got just a few other things on our agenda for tonight. We've got board business, which is approval of the meeting minutes for June 14th. Is there any comments or questions from my colleagues or amendments or corrections that need to be made to that? Those board minutes?
No.
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. And Marie?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Shelley? Aye.
Rachel, I.
Leslie?
Aye.
All right. I'm just going to take a 2-minute break while people are moving out of the room so that we can keep doing the next one. So we gave directions to the staff and we're actually moving on to the board business, the other items on the thing. So we're going to go ahead, Sean, we're just going to take a 2-minute break. And we are on to item G, which is our meeting reviews. So future board topics and board direction, meeting debrief, and then we can do a motion to continue. So we know that we're coming back on July 14th.
We are coming back on July 19. I just want to remind you that I will not be here on July 19.
Okay.
So, but if just depending on who is coming or not coming, if you need me to call in,
Okay.
then we need to think about that ahead of time so that I'm set up. I would be 9 hours ahead, so it would be 4 a.m. But I would still be. I think I can make it, but in that case, we need to organize it ahead of time so I can call in.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding us.
And I do not know if I can stay on the phone for 4 hours, but this seems to be an important meeting. So let's check in with each other, maybe 1 week before I go, so that we plan for that.
Yeah, because your location will have to be posted on the agenda, and you will have to have a posting at your location that states, and you have to make it accessible to the public.
Well, that would be too much.
So you may want to rethink.
I just want to make, as this is part of our, you know what I'm saying, the procedure part of our meeting, right? Okay. We have just never, since I've been on the board, we have just not been into a case where someone is calling in, and I was just interested in the concept of calling in. But if this is just not possible, then I will not attend.
Okay. Any other questions about that meeting time? Nope. Marcy, is there any?
None from me.
You enjoy the microphone over there.
Where you are, it's like, oh, where's that voice coming from? Any other? Okay. Nope. No other board business. Okay. Then I will go ahead. It is
meeting debrief.
Oh, meeting debrief. Meeting debrief in terms of, I think calling people up instead of people having lineup worked well in that case.
That was nicer. Yeah, just a nice flow.
Right. So that worked for me. Any other thoughts on that? Shuffling was good.
Yeah.
Appreciate having a larger room. There were a lot of people here. Not everybody spoke, but at least people were comfortable. So that was good.
I like that there was not so many that we were able to hear everybody speak. So, like we could hear everybody. It was
yes. You could hear everybody. Yep, that was good.
Yeah, I have to say, to credit of people who were complaining they couldn't hear us, we couldn't hear them last week. This is really a great, we can hear them much better today.
Yeah.
Some people were repeating, and I'm like, okay, now I get it much better. So that was definitely a high quality meeting, even for me.
And I want to thank the staff
Congrats.
for setting all of this up. So thank you guys for coming in here and
that's a lot of work.
Really, definitely appreciate being able to do that and making that happen.
Luckiest is the summer, because during the year, if we need to take this room when there is kids around, you know what I'm saying? This is a lot of work for one evening meeting. You know what I'm saying? So something to think about.
Anything else, staff? Any other? Nope. All right. Then I will go ahead at 8:08 and do a motion to adjourn.
Second.